The interview is going to start in a moment, but if you're looking for those inbound leads, the ones that you're getting without actually chasing for clients, and these are the best leads because that's how it all happens. You get the best leads that come to you inbound, not when you reach out for them, not when you're chasing them. I invite you to check out my free school group, the link in the description, and then you'll find there the video which you can go over and really learn about the essence of my method. There's something that I teach and I help my clients with. So go check it out. This is what it looks like, and I'll see you there. Hey guys, today I have a very, very special guest. His name is Nathan Gotch, and he is the founder of Gotch SEO Academy and Rankability, which is the SEO content optimization tool for agencies. Nathan, it's my absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you for finding the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
So the way it's going to go today, we're going to talk about the business itself, yeah, and I'm going to ask you about a bunch of questions about LinkedIn, and then we'll see where it takes us. So let's get started.
Sure. Sounds good.
I was basically getting ready for this interview, and I checked out some of your previous interviews. And in another interview, you mentioned that when you first started with your SEO agency, you worked with everyone. So there's no like real niche there. At this stage, do you think this was a mistake?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's always hard to look back and try to say what was a mistake and what wasn't, because I needed to make those mistakes to be able to get to where I am today. So, it is, woo woo as that answer is, it is a part of the learning process. So I don't regret it. But I do, when I try to advise people, I do try to advise them a different direction based on my mistakes, right? And so for me, the mistake of doing that, there's a lot of reasons why it's good and a lot of reasons why it's bad to kind of, cast a wide net. Okay. So just to be clear, I wasn't going super broad to the extent where like I was trying to target the whole United States,
Right.
but I was just targeting St. Louis. So as a result, I got a lot of different businesses working with me. So, one day I'm working with a plumber, the next day I'm working with a SaaS company, and then the next day I'm working with an e-commerce company. So it was challenging in that way, from a fulfillment perspective, from a sales perspective, from like really across every single department. Um, but the big benefit is that it exposed me to many different industries. I was able to generate cash flow, which was good. But the downside is when you get to a certain level, with this type of business model, scale becomes a real problem, and
Hmm.
growth becomes a real problem. So this is why, like, I don't try to push newer agency people like away from that idea, because I do think you should in the beginning take what you can get, right? Get cash flow, figure out the types of industries you like to work with, and kind of get some experience. I think take anyone you can get at that point. But the long-term goal should be, what is the specific niche or industry that I like to work in, right? What am I gravitating towards? Maybe you like working with SaaS companies. Maybe you like working with local businesses, specifically electricians, right? Whatever it is. But going in one direction is really important because it makes everything else easier. Like your marketing gets easier because you can actually speak directly to that ideal client profile. And your sales actually gets easier because you kind of, repeating the same kind of sales process every single time with the same ideal client profile. You start to understand them better. You understand their problems more. And then most importantly, on the fulfillment side, when you work on a lot of the same campaigns, you start to see a lot of commonalities, and that makes it easier to actually systemize the work a lot better.
Hmm.
Because for me, what would happen is every time I'd bring out a new campaign, it was basically like starting from scratch. Right.
Okay.
So if I bring on an e-commerce site selling blue shoes, I don't know anything about blue shoes. So now I have to basically learn an entire industry to, be able to
Blue
figure it
shoe
out. So
expert.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
um, thank you for your answer. Is there like I don't know, like a magic number of random clients you take? Like, take five and then you're like, okay, that's it. I don't want to take more of these anymore. I just want to focus on this specific, like, is there like specific number you'd suggest for people that they should take up and then kind of learn the intricacies of it and then kind of pick something? Or it's just kind of like, is there
Yeah.
science to it basically?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a specific number. I think it'd probably be more based on revenue, like monthly revenue. So, kind of based because obviously clients can vary, right? Depending on
Right.
your retainer, especially in the beginning when you don't have it really standardized, you're probably going to client for 500, client for 5,000. It's going to be all over the place, just the way it is. But I'd say once you start to get in that 10,000 to $20,000 per month range, that's where a lot of people start to feel the squeeze of what they're
Mm,
doing. And that squeeze, what I'm referring to is like, this is a lot of work and I don't know if I can sustain this. Right. And
mm,
that's where you start like in that range is where it starts to get really hard. And you start thinking about like, okay, how do I get other people to do stuff? How do I start to build systems? Like that starts to go through your mind. But one of the things to fix before you do all that is like, okay, no, actually, who is my target market? Like,
mm-hmm.
let's figure
Yeah.
that out. So I'd say like in that range, because I like to call like ten to $30,000 a month. Like that's like what I call the death zone.
Right.
And that's good money, by the way. That's great money for a
It's
lot of
great
people.
money. Yeah.
When I first started making that money, I was like, whoa, I've never seen this much money in my entire life. It was crazy. I couldn't even believe it. But there a lot of people get stuck there. A lot of people get stuck in that range and they get complacent in that range too. Cause
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're making good money. So you start to convince yourself that, oh, maybe I don't want to scale. Maybe I don't want to grow. Maybe this is okay. Right. You start
Mm-hmm.
to get into that. And that's not a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I think it's just when you start to feel that squeeze, it's time to like revisit, like, okay, who do I like working with? And by the time you get to, let's say 15K a month, you've probably worked with a variety of different businesses. So you're going to know who you prefer to work with typically. So yeah.
All right. I like this the squeeze kind of idea. I really like this. I think it's like more philosophical. No, it's it's basically like, are you more like an SEO person or more like an entrepreneur where you're like, okay, time to kind of take things to the next level? Probably. I'm not saying it is, but maybe.
Right.
Hmm. Um, right now, what is your main product or service that you're focusing? Because I want to ask you about who is your target audience right now.
Yeah. So basically from like 2013 until 2016, all I did was agency work. That's all I did.
Oh,
I just worked on clients. It was 100% of what I did. I didn't touch anything else. And then in 2016, I launched the first version of my training program, which is Gotch Academy. So that's been going since then. And it's gone through 6, 7 iterations at this point. And then obviously my most recent project is Rankability, which is
mm,
software, right? Content optimization tool. So those are like at this point my two main focuses is the academy and Rankability. I still have client work, but I have a partner that fulfills a lot of that work for me. So I'm kind of just on the
the
marketing side
face.
now these days. Yeah,
Gotcha.
but my focus is on those two things. Yeah.
And for the client work, if you don't mind me asking, so who's your target audience, even though you don't do like directly engaged with the fulfillment?
Yeah, I mean it's really I'd say the majority of the time it's local businesses.
Okay.
So still casting a pretty wide net, but unfortunately, like I've told people, I'm in a position where it's very hard for me to niche down because my audience is so broad at this point. So if I were
Yeah.
to like all of a sudden be like, I only do SEO for electricians, people are like, what? Like really weird. It wouldn't
Yeah.
make a lot of sense. So when you're going kind of after a broader mass market, it's hard to niche down. Plus, agency is I've kind of I don't want to say I moved on from it, but it's just something that it's not my focus anymore. So I could certainly niche down. I know the niches that I would prefer to go into, but I'm just not. It's not my focus in my business anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. In a way, like what you said, it's probably like also like in a way it's a niche. You're doing local SEO for like the client part. I mean,
yeah,
makes sense.
yep.
Um, when it comes to the Gotch SEO, basically, what got you to transition from running the agency itself, yeah, from 2013 to 2016 to creating the academy? And was there like a particular turning point?
The uh, weirdly, I always had an ambition to start my own course, right? That was like something I always wanted to do, and that was because I saw other people doing. I was like, wow, that would be really cool. Like you can create your own course, and then like people go through it, and you make money. I was like, pretty cool idea. And so for me, it wasn't like necessarily a turning point. I would say going back to the idea of the squeeze. right? In my agency, I hit a point where I really did not like my agency. Like I just didn't like my business, right? Like I was making great money, everything was good in that way, but I just despised working on it. And it was like,
What exactly
I,
was it? Like, is there something you
this is
hated?
yeah, on the agency side. So what I didn't like on the agency side was okay, there's a lot of things. The
Give me
number
top
one
three.
is,
The
yeah, I mean
partner. I don't like that
yeah,
guy.
yeah, no, the number one challenge with agency is like there isn't true scalability in an agency. Okay, so like by definition, you cannot scale an agency because for true definition of scale, like as revenue climbs, expenses fall, right? At scale. But in agency, it's not like that. Like as revenue grows, so do expenses, and they go at the same speed. And so does the amount of work, right? So it all kind of compounds together. So more, yeah, great, more revenue is awesome. That's all cool. But you've also quadrupled the amount of work you have to do, and quadrupled the amount of people you have to have doing the work for you. So there, all of that is very stressful, you know. And
Yeah.
like I'm a big fan of agency. Like I think it's a great business model for like beginner entrepreneurs. It's
Yeah, to kick
really
in.
really good.
100%.
It's
Yeah.
really great, and that's why I push it so hard. But you have to be like, if you want to go to the next level, you're gonna have to really work hard to take it to the next level. So for me, I didn't have that ambition. I didn't have that ambition to build a big agency. I just didn't enjoy it. And I knew I wouldn't be able to do it long term. So for me, I was like, I gravitate more towards education. That's
Hmm.
kind of where I would argue is more my skill set is on that front. And so that was one of the big turning points for me is like, I need to build a course. Right.
Right.
And there's other things too, like working with clients can be really stressful. Like it just is, especially like working specifically SEO. And this actually is applicable to any marketing channel. When you are paid to deliver results, that can be a challenging environment to work in, right? Because naturally, and I don't blame businesses, but they want to see results yesterday,
Yeah.
right? And so when you're doing SEO, it takes a long time. This is a
Yeah.
lot of work. There's a lot of effort that goes into it to see results, and you have to be really patient. And so, you know, that was another thing is just like the pressure of that and clients just being not all clients, but some clients being very challenging to deal with.
Mhm.
Now I've learned a lot from that, by the way. Like, you know, you cut clients loose a lot faster when you learn, you know, certain dynamics. But I just wasn't enjoying the work. That was the main thing for me. I wasn't really enjoying it, and I wanted to do something that uh, was not my time was not necessary to continue to make money, right?
Mhm.
And with agency, you know, obviously I had team members and plenty of people working for me, but still, I'm still in there. You know, I'm still in there. It's all in my mind. Like it's constantly, you know, the wheels are spinning on all the campaigns at all the time. So,
Mhm.
and with a course, it's totally different, right? Of
Yeah,
course,
makes sense.
you still have clients, you still have to, you know, you still have to satisfy those clients with courses, but I invest a bunch of upfront work, and that training is applicable for many, many years, right?
Yeah, it's more like an
So
asset. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it
Create
is.
it's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And I guess it goes towards like it's also like your personality as well. Like I totally understand you. Like 'cause some people they love spreadsheets. Like all they want to do is spreadsheets because they make them feel calm, you know. And then the other people are like, no way. I'm like, you sit there and then your knees starts jumping like that. You're like crazy. No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
know I have plenty of friends that love agency, by the way. I have plenty of friends that love agency. That's all they like to do. They have no ambition to start a course or start software. To each
yeah.
their own, right? To each their own. You got to figure out kind of where your strengths are. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Thank you. When it comes to scaling a business, many entrepreneurs they hit this roadblocks. And in your case, what were some of the biggest challenges you encountered when scaling the academy, Gotch SEO, and how do you address them? Maybe one or two or three. I'd be interested.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm still addressing them.
Okay.
So,
Okay, we'll skip this
uh,
question.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
I mean,
you
but
don't have the answer yet.
yeah, no, I mean, it's
I was
never
kidding.
ending, right? It's like when you're growing a business, it's ongoing. You're always trying to overcome a new challenge that you encounter. So it's like you fix one problem and then the next problem occurs. So,
Fire.
but for me, like the biggest thing, I would say the biggest change that I made to the academy is we. So I used to charge about $1,000 for the academy. Okay, so
Right.
$1,000 one time, that's
Okay.
it, right?
Hmm.
And the challenge with that was people would go through the training, but only a small percentage, right? So I ended up looking at my numbers on the back end, and it ended up being like, I think it
Yeah,
was like
people never watch the stuff. Yeah.
yeah, 18 to 20% actually finished the training, right?
Great.
And I think it was about 10% of people that bought the training never even logged in.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
So, when I saw those numbers, it actually made my stomach turn. I was like, oh my gosh, how is this even possible? Right.
Right.
But I'm someone I'm like a big fan of like accountability. So like
Yeah.
if I see that, I don't say, oh, why are they not doing it? I say, well, wait a second. What did I do to make
Right.
that happen? Right. Or what did I not do? Right. And so one of the things I discovered was that uh when you have a lower ticket type of training, people don't care about it as much.
Hmm.
And so when you have a higher ticket training program and someone actually has to put some capital to work, they actually have to take a little bit of risk.
Hmm.
The amount of engagement increases dramatically, right? And
Hmm.
so so the big shift that I made is I transitioned from this kind of on demand training where it's like, you go through on your own and good luck type of situation to a very, very high touch type of training. So I call ours more of like a hybrid model where it has the training, it has the community, and there's the coaching, and it's all combined into the same platform. And so that was the biggest shift for me because we, obviously increased the investment dramatically. But the results are unreal because now
Mm.
it's like people can actually jump on a call if they have a question, they can ask me, and we're giving them that really good support that makes a difference. And so to me, it's weird. Like we've been able to grow by me actually investing more time. So you could argue that's not scalable, but it actually has helped with growth, right? And it's helped with retention, and it's helped with all the good stuff that's supposed to come from
Yeah.
that.
Of course.
So it's a kind of a unique situation. Obviously, training programs like my name is on it, so inherently the value is me, right?
Hmm.
And so, and I know that I'm aware of that, and that's why obviously I've expanded to other things that don't have my name, right? So I'm thinking through, kind of thinking in the future with this. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. So that's the big challenge like that you resolved. Was there anything else about the academy itself?
Yeah, I mean the restructuring of that was a big one. But
Okay.
the good thing is like with training, it's inherently scalable, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
people can go through my training at 12 a.m. and I don't need to be there for them to do it,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
So the scalability is unlimited. The only part that's not scalable is obviously me getting on the coaching calls, right? But I view that very differently than most people would. Like I don't view that as a burden. I view that as a necessity
Yeah.
because I need to be there to support the students. Just like
Hmm.
how if you went to school and your teacher didn't show up to class, would you feel like you're going to be able to learn?
That
It'd
would
be
be the
pretty
best
hard.
day. That would be really nice. I recall
Right.
those days.
Yeah. I
Just sitting
mean,
there, the
but
teacher doesn't show
yeah,
up.
but like
It's
for
pretty
the
good.
most part, like, here's a book, good luck, right? That'd
Yeah.
be pretty hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
100%. Makes sense. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, like this engagement part, it's huge. And
Yeah, and I was gonna say
tell
just
me.
to add to that, by the way, one
Yeah.
one other part of that is I got help too, by the way. So
Yeah.
that was another big piece. When I used to run my training, it was just me. So I do launches, I would do it was everything. I did everything. And then I got a partner and I have other team members working with me now. So that's also helped with the scalability so that I can free up my time to make the
Hmm.
training better, do the coaching, do all the things that I'm actually good at, and all the other stuff
Yeah, your
I'm not
circle
involved in.
of mastery. This.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And if we look at the early days of your business, and it can be the academy itself, or the agency, or even the SaaS then that you have right now, Rankability. Is there like a mistake or misstep that stands out to you? and the critical lesson, if there's anything that you learned from that. That'd be interesting. Maybe something more recent because that's
Yeah,
more
yeah. I mean,
you screwed
gosh,
up with like
I
SAS,
I
like
mean, where do I start? Where do I start? I mean, it's like, I mean, I've lost track of the mistakes I've made at this
you
point. Like,
have
yeah,
to write them down.
yeah, I mean, I just try to learn from them and move on. And I'm a mistake machine, but that's because I'm definitely action oriented, right?
Yeah,
I would rather do something and learn that it was wrong than
yeah,
sit on my hands and try to predict what's going to happen in the future. So
yeah.
I would rather just do it and figure it out. That's the way I guess I like to learn the hard way. Is maybe I'm
Yeah.
very stubborn in that way, but it seems to work for me. I like to learn the hard way. And so yeah, I mean, I've made mistakes in every business model that I've had across the board. So yeah, I mean, I'd say with rankability, man, I'm trying to think of mistakes.
Oh, I was curious, like, when I read it, I was like, you're very specific about the position, and it's for the agencies, right? And I don't
Yeah.
think I've
Hmm.
seen. I mean, obviously there are tools similar to Rankability. Obviously, I haven't checked it
Yeah.
out, but from the looks of it, there are tools similar to Rankability that have been out there for for a while now. So, but I think this is the first one that I've seen, and again, I haven't been on the market for these tools, but I think that's the first one I've seen that is positioned the way that you have it positioned. So I'm curious
Yeah.
if something led to that.
Yeah. Well, and actually going back to, you asked me earlier, like for the agency, have I niched down? Like what niche should I pick? Well, funny enough, this is actually a mistake that we did learn with the academy, and it kind of bled into rankability so we wouldn't make this mistake, which is
Hmm.
with the academy, I used to be an SEO training program,
Hmm.
right? For everyone. Everyone. I was SEO training for everyone. So then what happened is so the way that our training program works, people have to get on an actual call to enroll. So you can't just, it's
Bye.
not buy now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you have to actually get on a call and it's an enrollment process. So we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls at this point. And through all those calls, we started to realize that a certain type of person tends to be our best client in the
Mm.
academy. And through all of those calls and all of the meetings that we've had and all the discussions we had, we realized that our best person, the person that we can actually help get results at a high success rate, right, are agency owners, right? Agency owners, freelancers, consultants, anyone that's doing SEO for a business, those are our best clients. And we discovered that, and so we kind of doubled down on that. So actually, funny enough, the our Gotch SEO Academy is actually an SEO training program specifically for agencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we made that shift, and the reason is because we actually found that when we were abroad, this is a very weird thing that happens.
What do you
When we
mind?
were abroad, we would get a variety of applications. Be a business owner, would be an e-commerce store, would be some agencies, whatever it is. But what we found is when we were abroad, the percentage of agency owners specifically that applied was actually lower. So then when we changed our positioning to only focus on agencies,
Hmm.
the application rate went through the roof. But not just that, the close rate got better and the success rate got better, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah,
so
it's
that
like
was,
some genius stuff here. Like, oh, we're making it for agencies. All of a sudden, just agencies knocking your door and closing them.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
I
And
know, I know
I'm
what you're
not,
talking about.
no, but I'm really not kidding because it is
I
actually,
know.
yeah, no, it is that simple, which is like what's disturbing to me is because like it literally is as simple as going onto my landing page,
Yeah,
putting four
shit.
agencies. That makes the difference. I'm not kidding. It's
Yeah,
really
I
that.
know.
Like I wish I could tell you it was some sort of brilliant thing, but
Yeah,
it is that simple. It really
yeah.
is.
That's it. That's the end of it. I got you.
Yeah.
I'm off now. We're gonna write it
Yeah.
down for agencies. Are
Yeah.
you
And
like?
that's why I was going to say, and that's why it bled into rankability too, right? Because we know that the people who are going to use our tool the most, the people that are going to need it the most are agencies, right? They're working with
Mhm.
clients. They got to get them results. They need software to elevate their game. They're perfect. They're a perfect fit for
Mm.
what we do. So
Yeah, it makes sense. I really like that. Yeah, it's so simple. It's like, yeah, this is for the agencies. And then it kind of
I,
shifts your focus to what the agencies require. Do you see like a difference between like smaller agencies and bigger agencies, or doesn't really matter that much?
oh, definitely. Yeah, big difference. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we have agencies in the academy that, they have 50 team members going through our training, right?
Okay. Wow.
So, and then we have some that are just one person, one man agency, so different problems at each stage, right? Someone who's just a, one man agency, their biggest concern might be getting clients, right? An agency that's making $20 million a year, yeah, they need clients, but they're more focused on like, how do we make our team really good so that they can deliver good work for our clients, right? So it's kind of a different mentality, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's just based on the stage that they're at. So
Yeah. Gotcha. Um, Now you have a whole bunch of different projects, and this can be overwhelming for sure. And are there any systems or habits that you rely on to prioritize your time and keep everything running as smooth as possible? Like, are you Elon Musk in a way?
no, I wish if I was at his level, yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to figure it out in my own way, right? And one thing that I found that works for me at least uh, is I just really don't do anything that I don't think I'm good at. So if it's something that if I'm decent, maybe a little bit above average, I still don't do it. Like the
Mm,
only thing that I will do, and at least I try to do, right? I'm not perfect, but
right.
most of the time, like in a good week, I'm only doing the things that I believe are my strengths. So for me, that would be YouTube, that would be writing, that would be getting on interviews, right? Like these things are kind of my wheelhouse. But there's other things that just aren't. Like maybe I'm okay at it, but it's better for someone else to do. And
Hmm.
so this is one thing I've learned. This is really hard, by the way. This is a shift that takes a while to kind of figure out when you're not like an early entrepreneur. Because when you're an early entrepreneur, you think you have to be really smart at everything. And it's
Mm,
actually a massive, massive mistake. There's a quote, I think it's from Brian Tracy, right? And
hmm.
he says, there's nothing worse than someone who's dumber than you making more money than you,
I
right?
hate this one. Yeah,
And
it
and
sucks.
and the reason he's saying that is because he's saying that like a good business owner doesn't try to be good at everything.
Mhm.
They just accept that they can't be. So then they find people that can do that work really, really well. And so depending on what it is, like, so obviously my expertise is SEO. So in that regard, I will systemize. I'll build out the system step by step, the whole like ecosystem of doing SEO. I will build that all out with the intent to hand it off to other people to do that
Mhm.
work. Right. But if it's something like that I barely understand, like, I don't know, video editing. Okay.
Mhm.
Like I'm okay, but I'm not expert. Right. So I would just hand that off to a video editor and say, take care of
Here, here we go. Yeah.
it. Right. I'm not going to build a system for him because he's already got the expertise. Right.
Right.
And same with my partner who's incredible at sales, like incredible salesperson. I didn't need to build systems for him. Right. I say, you're going to do the sales. And he says, okay. And he closes deals. Like that's
Yeah.
all that there is. So
Rock and
it just
roll.
kind of depends on what it is. But for me, one thing that's worked really well for me is just not doing like things that are not my strengths. Um,
Okay.
so my weaknesses essentially.
Yeah, this is crazy. I was talking to somebody else about that, and they're like, when you start the something, it might be a new venture or something like a part of like something new that you're starting off with. They're like you start doing everything, but then he would like catch himself and literally stop himself from doing the stuff that he's not really good at, and then get somebody right away. Without like, oh, I'll do this for a little bit, and then I'll get somebody. He'd stop himself at the very start, and then oh, I'll get somebody good from the start.
Yeah.
To do this thing for me.
Well, and by the way, I'm guilty of this still to this day. Like occasionally I catch myself doing something, but one thing I've realized it's kind of like a muscle, right? And
Yeah.
the more you train yourself to catch it, the better you get. So like in the beginning, when you don't know anything, you're just like throwing stuff against the wall. everything
Yeah.
seems important, right? But
Yeah.
as you start to develop experience, you'll catch yourself that, why am I like messing with the site design? Like, what am I doing? And then you just like, you're like, you just like cut
With
it
a
off
CSS
fast,
there, right?
right? Like you just cut it off. And you're like, what am I doing? I'm going to give this to
Why?
Joe, right?
Why am I
And
here?
yeah, but you get better at it. You get faster at recognizing stuff you shouldn't be doing. It just takes experience. So yeah.
Yeah. In my mind, I keep it like I always like, for example, I'm doing this interview with yourself. It's also like I could have spent like, say, I don't know, a week writing posts on LinkedIn, but instead I use this leverage, like, because you obviously better know than I am. So I go out there and then have a bunch of interviews like this. So giving it all away right now, yeah, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
idea. So it's like, yeah, if you can focus on these like high impact activities, then the idea is that it should be working better
Yeah.
that
And
way as well.
I think the one thing that's helpful for me too is like in the 7 habits of highly effective people, I
Uh,
think about the
Stephen Covey,
quadrants.
right?
Yeah. And the quadrant
Hmm.
2 activities, like that's if you're trying to grow, that's where most of your time should be spent, right? In those
Right.
quadrant 2. So not urgent, but important,
Not
right?
important. Yeah, important, not
So
urgent. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Oh man, I love it so much. Um, so the one I got about this the SEO thing, because we are speaking about SEO quite a lot. For someone aiming to launch an SEO focused, like basically an agency, SEO agency, what would you say are their three most important factors of success in such a competitive market, especially given all the changes that we're seeing right now with AI popping up, Google doing some crazy stuff, and all those things?
Yeah. I mean, I think, obviously, the difference maker is going to be people who are action oriented. And if you're action oriented, you're going to take the time to go and actually learn SEO. Like that, I would say the big difference between me or any other person that's been doing this for an extended amount of time is that we're obsessed with SEO.
Right.
And you're not going to beat anyone at this level of obsession if you just SEO is cool or SEO is kind of like a side project or you're not going to win. So that's like the first
But
part is like if
obsessed
you're
to a
not
level
even
like, personal question, you got kids?
I have 3. Yep.
All right, beautiful. So, like, has it ever happened to you that you forgot one of your kids' birthdays and instead we're doing some SEO stuff?
Not at that level. Not at that level. My
Okay.
my calendar's pretty locked in, so I won't
Good.
make that
Good.
mistake. But it is pretty crazy because like SEO is all I've done since 2013 is full-time SEO. That's all I've done for over a decade. And
Crazy.
so my obsession level is pretty extreme. Maybe there's people more obsessed, but I'm definitely up there as far as obsession.
So you were in
Um,
2013. So you started before this crazy, like, was it Panda or something? It was like you were just
yeah,
pouring in
yeah.
links like
So
there's
there
no
were
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the days where it was so easy that you could
Mhm.
just slap up a page that just had like a headline, a video, and one sentence, and then you could just slam it with backlinks and it would rank.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how easy it was back
I
then.
think
Not
that
like that
back in the
anymore.
day, there was like, I don't know, 78 websites on the internet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was definitely easier back then, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, I think for starting an agency, like the key is like you really have to like SEO. I mean,
Right.
you have to really enjoy this process of trying to hack algorithms. You're not really hacking them, but you're really trying to figure them out. You have to be really kind of have that learner's mindset. So like
Hmm.
if you take the strengths finder, test, like one of my number one is learner, right? So I just love to learn like how to figure things out. So like
Hmm.
even I know we'll talk a little about LinkedIn. Like at one point I was terrible on LinkedIn. I didn't know what was going on, right? I was like, I don't know how to do anything on here.
Yeah.
But but of course I started to dig in. I said, oh, I see. Okay, now I start to see the formula of what works here. So,
Hmm.
and I kind of look at all these platforms the same way: Google, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, all of them. My mind is thinking about, okay, well, how can I figure out how this algorithm works? Now, the cool part is that most of the platforms are pretty much the same, right? The algorithms react to user signals. So if you focus on building good content for users, the algorithm will follow, right? And it does so because a lot of people think in reverse. They think about how do I manipulate the algorithm? That's futile, right? So a better approach to think about like, okay, how do I drive user engagement on this post? So, and there's little tactics you can use to do that. But the point is like beginning with that, because the algorithm will react to that. And it's the same with SEO too. So I'd say that the first thing is like really liking SEO. Second thing is in the beginning, your number one job is to get results. Like get results, build your portfolio, and you should basically be eating ramen noodles while you build your portfolio. Like, don't even think about making money. I'm serious. Like people get like in the beginning, if your thought is like, oh, I need to make as much money as possible.
People really
you're done.
like they underestimate this like portfolio thing, like the social proof is just everything.
It's critical. You have to, as fast as you humanly possible, you have to build your portfolio, because you can leverage your portfolio forever as a sales vehicle. So for me, when I started, I built out my own websites. Like I actually built out my own websites, and I use those websites as my results. So then I use the results to close clients. I didn't even have any clients, but I had the results. Technically my sites are my clients, right? Like I'm doing their campaigns, I'm doing the work there, and that worked, right? And so anyone that's new, the thing I would recommend is like, have an idea of a niche that you want to go into. And if you do have one kind of locked in, what you can do is you can build out a micro site in that little industry, use that as your portfolio website, and then you can use that as your collateral to start closing deals in that specific niche. And that's one way I would, try to enter into it. So, but at the same time, like take what you can get, right? Go on Upwork, go on Fiverr, like build out microservices, do everything, because the goal is to get cash, and then you can use that cash as security, which then allows you to, do the things you really need to do, right? So, I would say those two things. There's a couple things in there, but that's where I would start.
Love it. Now that you mentioned LinkedIn, it's time to go right into that topic. And tell me what exactly motivated you to start using LinkedIn for your business.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just more of diversification and more of an omnipresent type of approach.
How long ago did you start? Like when was this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know when I actually started getting consistent on LinkedIn. I would say it was probably like 2021-ish, maybe.
Okay, so like before the change, because I think the change, like when was that purchased by Microsoft? So
I think it was maybe before then.
Before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Then when they made the shift towards like this whole social thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I don't quote me. I mean, I think it was around that time, but yeah, I mean, so my rationale was simply just to diversify my channels. So like at one point, my only channels that I had were, obviously Google was my number one.
So we were at Google Plus, and then you shifted to LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, not even Google Plus, just Google search in general, just like just Google search, organic, and then email. And those are I only had those two channels for a long time. And then the third channel I added was YouTube, which I started about the end of 2017, 2018 was when I started YouTube. And then once I felt confident on like going back to hacking algorithms, once I felt confident on YouTube and I was like, I see kind of how this works. Then I said, all right, I'm going to add another one to my repertoire. And that was LinkedIn. And I kind of added back then Twitter, now X, but I added those kind of at the same time. And I'm still trying to figure these platforms out too, right? It's kind of a moving target all the time, but I have a pretty good idea of what works on LinkedIn at this point. There are some certain styles that tend to work pretty well. So yeah, we can talk more about that, but my motivation was basically marketing, lead generation, business growth. Really. Yeah. So
makes sense. Yeah. So like it's just one of the channels for yourself. And was it more for the academy or just anything in general? Just yourself, just push your
I've always going back to, I know you're asking about mistakes, and one of the mistakes I used to make on social media was I treated it incorrectly. And so I used to view social media as a way to drive traffic back to my site. And that was a huge mistake, because what I realized is the way to really do well on social media is to embrace the native content for that platform. Right. So you'll see people who try to like use it as a referral mechanism. back to their website. That doesn't work. As soon as you drop a link, your content's dead.
Yeah, hates
It's
it.
absolute. They hate that. So there's ways around that, obviously. But the main, at least my objective of social media is to establish authority in my particular skill set, with the intent that if I do a good job, a percentage of those people will go to Google and do branded searches. So if they do branded
Beautiful.
searches, then I know good stuff will happen. In particular, here's one little kind of technique that I figured out a couple of years ago. When I create content on social media or YouTube, I'll say, "Hey, I'm the founder of Gotch SEO Academy." Right? I always make, like on YouTube in particular, I'm founder of Gotch SEO Academy, Rankability, blah blah blah. So what happens is people, well, what's Gotch SEO Academy? They go to Google, they search Gotch SEO Academy, and funny enough, I have a Google business profile. So when they search Gotch SEO Academy, they see all my reviews right away.
Right. Yeah.
So I establish trust. They go to my site. That gives me positive signals to Google.
Okay.
Google says, "Ooh, branded searches." There's a whole thing that gets unlocked when you do that. So I kind of stopped caring about driving like direct conversions or sales or anything from social these days. It's all about just branded searches.
I love it. It's like this amazing guy, let's call it that way, Neil Patel. Like I remember, remember when he did this crazy campaign? He got some ladies of Instagram to hold that, like, "Who is Neil Patel" campaign.
Yeah.
This guy
Yeah.
really pulled it off. And there was a lot of branded searches as a result. So you got like
and I don't know how effective that was, obviously, because it seemed pretty artificial, but like definitely going for the real stuff is probably going to be much better. So
it's like just people just checking out this. But anyway, since you touched the subject of what works on LinkedIn, I'd love to know a bunch of secrets. I don't need all of them, but maybe one or two would be great. What works for you?
I don't know if I have any secrets per se, but I can tell you what definitely works for me in particular. The first thing is, at least what I found, do not veer off your subject matter expertise. I think that there is and I only have evidence from my own content. So obviously this may not be applicable to everything, but at least with my own content, I have found that there must be something built into the LinkedIn algorithm that when you veer off your core competency, your reach gets slaughtered. So like if I talk about something that is not related to SEO, I get destroyed. Now that could just be because it's getting pushed out to maybe a different audience that maybe isn't as familiar with me and whatever it is. But when I talk about SEO, I've trained the algorithm into what my relevance is, at least on my profile. So when I publish SEO stuff, it gets pushed out to the people that are interested in that pretty quickly, right? And of course, the majority of my followers are interested in SEO. So it kind of all works together in that way. So I'd say the one thing is like, be really careful to veer off. I know there's like some people out there that push this idea of like, don't niche down, right? I hear that sometimes these days, like with their content. I think it's really dangerous if you do that. You have to be really talented to be able to talk about multiple topics like that. That's really hard to do. Right. So I think picking 1 to 3 topics that you kind of focus in on at all times, you're going to get a lot better results. Ideally, just pick one, and focus on that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, as far as posting cadence and velocity, I found that about 1 a day is pretty solid. I've tested 2 a day. I've tested 3 a day. I've gone even as high as 4 or 5 a day, diminishing returns, it seems. So it seems like 1 per day is enough to max out the algorithm as far as the reach that you can get. So that's another one. Another thing is to mixing up your content types. So like I vary it. Sometimes I'll do kind of a visual looking asset. Other times it'll be more kind of just raw text with like some emojis and stuff like that. But that, I think mixing it up.
You do videos?
Good, but very rarely. Yeah, very rarely. Not because I'm opposed to them. It just isn't the style that I've tried to deploy on LinkedIn.
The other thing is, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. And I'll say the other big thing that I spend an enormous amount of time on when I create content on LinkedIn is that first line on my post.
The hook.
the very first hook, the very first sentence, I will spend so much time on that
80
because
cents of the dollar. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. People way underestimate that. So I will go through probably 10, 20 variations of just the hook for one post. And it's and I'll even run it through ChatGPT. So like I'll come up with my own variations and I'll have ChatGPT grade the variations.
Oh,
And
you'd
then,
actually
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, and obviously ChatGPT is kind of guessing its way through things a lot of the time, but at least it gives me some feedback and I say, okay, that's a good point. I can kind of revise and rework, but it's so critical. And I think if there's one skill you can master is like figuring out good hooks is a big one. So yeah. And then aside from that, another technique, and this is one that's applicable to X and YouTube and TikTok. It's all the same. Is leveraging internal linking on these platforms. Okay, so if we know that the platforms don't like when you link out, well, what they don't care about is you linking to other pages on LinkedIn, right, or other posts on LinkedIn. That doesn't trigger the algorithm at all. So what I do is if I published one today and it was like I think it was 5 SEO actions or something that, that can actually move the needle or something. And I did all 5. And the last one was talking about, make your content more relevant. That was one of the tips. And in that, I talk about, what you should do is use NLP, and then I transition into use rankability, right? And so some people who maybe don't understand how these algorithms work might be like, go to rankability.com and try to send them off. Big mistake. So what I do instead is I just actually internally link to the Rankability company page. So that way I don't send any negative signals to that post. It doesn't affect my reach, and I can just send it to the company page, which then creates positive signals on that company page, right? And drives followers there. And you can take this to like another level, and I've tested this before too, is treating your content like a funnel. Okay, so what you can do is build out what I would call like a mother asset. So like your best piece of content that directly promotes whatever you're trying to promote. So like I have one like the best content optimization tools, right? And it's like a list, and Rankability is number 1, obviously. Okay. And so that would be the mother asset. And so then every single time I publish a new post, I'm going to internally link back to that mother asset over and over and over and over, because that's my conversion piece, right? That's my conversion piece. So all of the, let's call it the awareness-based content, will link to my kind of bottom.
And you linked it from the body of the post or the comment section?
Depends.
Okay.
Depends. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I don't think I haven't seen much of a difference either way doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love this. This is some secret. I love the way that it's not like, like this. I mean, there are little tricks, but it's the whole picture is so much bigger, so it's like, you've got this content funnel idea, like you get people through the realization that they've got a problem, and then you kind of connect these other, I love it. I read it. I love it. It's brilliant.
Right. Yeah. And I was going to say, like, I don't think anything like hashtags and stuff, I don't think do anything.
Yeah.
Like I see people sometimes using hashtags on like X and LinkedIn, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't used hashtags in like 3-4 years. I think they actually hurt.
Imagine all the lost opportunities that you.
I don't think I definitely don't think, because I think almost these days when I see hashtags, I almost think someone like may not, I don't know what they're doing.
Okay. I'll ditch the hashtags. I got you. I'll ditch them.
Yeah.
That's probably what's killing it for me. Okay.
Yeah. No, definitely not. But it's just one thing where like, I think the algorithms know that those are used by people trying to manipulate the algorithm typically.
This guy's an idiot. He's using hashtags.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's like that. But it's just, it's like, I think it's an old practice, I think. At least in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm the one using hashtags. So like, this guy, we're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, nothing against you. Yeah.
No. It's I love I love this humor. So anyway, it's like in I'm in Argentina right now, and I speak Spanish, so they've got this saying in Spanish that, like, when they want to call somebody a little bit like that, they say te faltan jugadores, which basically translates as you're missing players. Like you have a football team, but you don't have enough players in your football team. So it is what it is. But anyway, it's just that. What kind of results, expected and maybe unexpected, did you achieve with LinkedIn? And can you maybe share a success story of how to lead to maybe new business or whatever it led to, maybe speaking gigs or?
Yeah. Well, one thing I'll add to this discussion is about the content types, because when ChatGPT first came out, I created a lot of content about ChatGPT and AI related to SEO. And funny enough, my most popular posts are about that, right? And but here's what's funny is those are terrible for conversions.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Super wide, like awareness,
Yeah, very, very broad, got a lot of engagements, lots of stuff. And like you look at those vanity metrics and like you think you've done something good, right? Like, ooh, look at those, look at those likes, look at those comments. Yeah, pat yourself on the back. But to me, I don't care if it doesn't make me money in my business, right?
Yeah.
I'm not here to get vanity metrics. I'm not interested in that. Like what I want to see is like, what's the content that actually drives conversions?
I
Right.
keep telling this, it's so hard to get this to the clients as well. It's like, oh, we had more impressions and more likes on these posts last week, but it's like, come on, this has nothing to do with like your bottom line.
No,
It's
no.
all,
And it's
yeah.
and unfortunately it's very seductive, right? It's very
Yeah,
seductive.
yeah.
Even for me, like I catch myself every so often. I'm like, and what am I chasing here? Am I chasing vanity metrics or am I chasing
Right.
conversions?
Yeah.
And I know the types of content that will generate vanity metrics. I know what it looks like. There's a certain model that you can go to. But once again, like, what's the goal of being here? And
Mhm.
personally, I'm not posting content for the goodness of my heart. I'm doing it because I when I publish content, I'm trying to build trust and authority and get people to know, like, and trust our brands, which gets them to work with us, right? I will not pretend I'm a nonprofit. This is a for-profit business, right?
Of course.
And that's the goal, right? And so if you're doing things that are just purely designed to pat yourself on the back with your vanity metrics, that's cool. But what I think matters on LinkedIn is definitely focusing on business objectives.
Mhm.
And it's the same on YouTube as well. Like on YouTube, I could publish a video that gets a lot of views, but doesn't really drive a lot of conversions. Or I
Mm.
could publish a video that gets half the views, but gets a ton of conversions.
Right.
Right. So views to me is irrelevant. And this is why, like, I tell people, like in our training, for example, go and start a YouTube channel that's specifically targeting the niche that you're going after. So
Mhm.
like I'm going to be, I don't know, pest control SEO guys, right? That's going to be the name of my YouTube channel. Now, you're not going to be famous with that
No.
YouTube channel. Like you're not going to be winning Emmys, and like that's not going to happen for you. But you will drive leads, you will drive clients, and your revenue will grow. Right.
Mhm.
And so it's a mindset shift on that. And it's really hard because the vanity metrics, they are so
So
they play
sweet.
game.
Yeah.
They play games with you. So yeah, I would say that's a big thing for me on LinkedIn, any of these platforms, is like making sure you're keeping the main thing, right? And not veering off into I want to be an influencer type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, that's huge. Can you drive me through your like conversion type posts and how do you like what's the structure? Because like I'm really curious about this and what are like how do you keep track of like these like you have some KPIs or how do you track like the results, the outcomes of these posts?
Yeah. Well, tracking and attribution is like impossible. Like,
Right.
in this like
Nice one.
these days. Yeah. I mean, it's based, anyone that claims they can do attribution these days,
Not happening.
it's not even possible. Like, for example, when we look at our numbers, because we try to track through like form submission. So it's like, where did you find us? So we can kind of get some intel that way. But like for our Gotch Academy applications, it's like 40% YouTube. Okay. 40%
Mhm.
come from YouTube. But funny enough, the other, let's say 20-30% come from Google, but
Right.
that's not true, right?
Yeah.
Because Google's not the original source of that
Yeah.
of that traffic. The original source could have come from YouTube or LinkedIn or X, and they did a branded search
Right.
and then ended up on my website, but Google gets all the credit, even though it wasn't actually Google that drove that, right? It
Makes
was
sense.
the way it happened way before then. So that's why attribution is really challenging. But the one way that I can track it is because the life cycle of a piece of content is really small on LinkedIn.
Super
Like
tiny, yeah.
you've got 24 hours, maybe if you're lucky, 72 hours to max out a piece of content. So I know when I publish an asset, I can directly see the conversions that day that come in from that asset based on the time that I published it. Not an exact science, but I can see kind of that correlation because I
Right.
won't publish other assets at the same time. So I'll make sure I'm kind of able to kind of isolate that to see if it was effective. And then I got to jump off here in a minute, but the type of conversion asset that works best for me is usually some sort of listicle seems to really hit the sweet spot. So, like my SEO tool stack or my content optimization tool stack, like things like that. And then obviously adding my tool in there. Another one might be like, here's how to, might be more informational nature. So like, here's how to learn SEO and here's my exact process. And then at the end I say, hey, PS, if you want to do this faster, check out the Academy. Right. And then I internally link back to the company page. Yep.
Makes total sense. I have a few, like I have one longer question and then a few blitz ones. So let's go super quick. If you were to start over LinkedIn, anything would you do differently?
Start over. Honestly, no. I think at this point, I would stick to well, I guess the one thing I would do is, let's say I didn't have the consistency or the discipline, I would focus on just trying to hit a minimum target that I could do for an extended amount of time. So like if I can only do one post a week, I would just start with that. And if once I'm able to consistently do one post a week, then I say, okay, now I'm trying to do 2 posts a week. Right. And I would just keep scaling up until the point you get to 1 per day. And that's probably where the law of diminishing returns will set in. So
just keep it that. And then the rest is what you mentioned. Okay. Blitz questions. If you could only use one SEO tool for the rest of your career, which one would it be?
Oh man, that's going to make me a super biased question.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Rankability.
I mean, yeah, rankability, obviously. Yep.
What's the strangest SEO myth you've had to debunk?
Oh man. Strangest SEO myth. Wow. Yeah, that's a tough one. Man, you stumped me on that. I'm gonna have to think about, you might have to get back to me on that one. I might have to, I'm gonna create a post on that one. That's a good one.
Right.
Let me think about that. Yeah.
I'll get you.
But
And the final one.
But I gotta, yep, go ahead.
Tell me.
Yeah. No, go ahead. I mean, I gotta jump off here. So
okay. Yep. When you're not analyzing keywords, what's your favorite way to switch off and relax?
Watch The Office.
Okay. Awesome. Nathan, great to have you, my man. Thank you so much.
We'll talk soon.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.